And peace to you all. My name is Umi. Thank you guys for joining me for another video. And in this video, we're going to be delving into a taboo subject, which is connected to your inner demons. Many of you have probably heard reference to this. We've often said, my struggle, my inner demons, related to addictions, related to our anger, related to deceit, related to promiscuity and hypersexual behavior. We can identify our inner demons oftentimes as just negative manifestations of our character, of our attitude, of our conditioning. Just pain, trauma, things from our past can come up in us as this sort of anger and guilt. And it's something we feel we struggle with. We're often feeling tormented by negative and harsh emotions. So on a surface level, this can just simply be, negative projections that all humans are quite capable of. But for some, it's far deeper than that. I was in conversation with a person once, and the conversation quickly turned into something was triggered in the conversation between me and this other person. It wasn't something that I said. It was the subject itself that triggered something in this person. They began to get very angry very quickly. So I didn't take it personal. I didn't feel they were attacking me. I was in an absolute state of just witnessing what was happening, almost as if someone just starts to break down and then everything from life starts to pour out of them, and all you can do is just sit and listen, because it seems as if at that moment that's all they need. So I was just in that state where I was just kind of listening and observing, but I saw that what was coming out of the person was an anger that was making them morph in a way. Like quite literally, physically, I saw rage in the person's eyes and even this sort of foaming at the mouth as they were angry and yelling and getting all of this stuff out. And in that state of sort of exposing that inner demon that they were dealing with, I quickly began to witness how the inner demon almost takes on a personality archetype of its own. It is something that is, in my opinion, this sort of entity that can take hold of a person's auric field, energy body, take hold of a person on a soul level, and they feel so, it's a struggle for them. So we've all dealt with some form of negative projection, as I mentioned, but what makes this type of inner conflict so difficult and such a battle is that that inner demon is still feeding off of something that we're holding on to, some pain, some trauma, some addiction. Something is allowing that entity to still reside within the body. And from time to time, upon triggers, upon certain environment stimuli, it manifests. And it can absolutely manifest in a physical form through a person where you're no longer looking at the person you think you know, but they turn into a different person. And we've seen this in situations where a loved one harms a family member. They turn into someone else. They're violent, they're aggressive. Intense emotions and feelings of self-hate can manifest through a person's inner demons, where they say hateful things about themselves, to themselves. I hate myself. I want to die. These type of hateful things, the speech is connected to something. That something is a person's inner demon. So if it sounds disturbing, then it absolutely is, and it's something that most of us don't want to confront. We don't want to have to witness, especially in another person or someone we love and care about, when they sort of morph in a way and they turn into this other person that we didn't even know exist. So how do we deal with this? That torment that some of you can relate to, and as I mentioned, that entity is attached to something within us, is the reason why fasting, detoxing, time spent in nature, meditative practices is not something that is spoken of or preached about just for the sake of it. It is an absolute method of armor. It helps to protect and safeguard the soul from these attacks, to the point where this entity can no longer remain attached to the body, because you're not feeding that entity through addiction, through hypersexual behavior, sleeping around with any and every person, attracting more negative energetic forces or entities. You're not doing anything to continue to feed this entity, and therefore it is forced to flee your temple, your body. It no longer has a space to reside, because you're being filled up with things of a higher nature. Light, higher spiritual protection is now surrounding you and seeping into your auric field. So this is very much a spiritual work. We do not war against flesh and blood. So this is not merely just people that you don't like. These are actually entities that can manifest in people at any given time based on a person's lifestyle, based on what content a person indulges in. People who love to watch horror films and things related to witchcraft and poltergeist and these types of things, where although it may seem entertaining, if you're feeding off of that energy and you love that fear, you love all of the emotions that accompany watching certain content, then rest assured, you keep dabbling in that entertainment and these practices, you are welcoming and inviting in certain entities that feed off of that. So what do I mean by entities? Some may think of ghosts or these sort of, random spirits. However you perceive and understand entities when I say it, then that's rest on your belief system. So, in this instance where you yourself are having to battle with your inner demons, what's happening is there's nowhere that you can hide to mask this part of yourself. It's a part of you. Unless you go through deep transformative healing and spiritual work to remove this energy off of you, or these energies off of you, these entities off of you, then you're going to constantly either suppress it and try to carry through life as if nothing's wrong, or you're going to constantly deal with that inner torment, and it's going to create a sort of isolation where you want to withdraw from people because you don't know at what point it may manifest. So again, it can be in the form of wrath and anger, all of your feelings of abandonment, loneliness, trouble, mental illness. These things can manifest. And so the reason it's associated with inner demons is because this part of us can take on a personality of its own. It can take on an energy or a presence of its own. It can disrupt an environment. So I've certainly been around people and have heard people say things that catch my ear. Not that I'm just listening to what words they're saying, I'm listening to the spirit behind what they're saying. So if someone says something such as, I hate myself, or I want to kill myself, I want to hurt myself, I want to die, these type of very disturbing speech that bubbles forth from a person is truly not coming from them. It's not coming from the soul. The soul is in essence being victimized and tormented by the energies that are present on them. The problem here is that it's a toxic energy. It's a parasitic energy. It is a demonic energy. So it will seek to manipulate. You will find that you're willing to sleep around with someone who's married, or just a person you randomly met, and you're not really sure why, but afterwards you deal with very complex emotions of guilt, of shame, of feeling disgusted with yourself. So this is how I'm trying to speak with finesse, but this is how these demonic forces use the body in order to carry out and fulfill its own agenda. So if you're not aware of that, then you will keep doing certain practices and indulging in certain vices that feed that entity. So in my home, I've had many instances where I know there's something in my home, there's an energy in my space, and I'm very sensitive to that. When I come home, I like things to be peaceful. I understand my children will be children, the house will get a little messy, there'll be little arguments or conflict amongst the children, disagreements with my husband and I, just normal family things. But when I start to feel the energy becoming very thick and unpleasant, and I find it hard to keep things clean, there just seems to be more clutter and mess, or more arguments happening than usual, or the children are saying more aggressive things toward one another, everything has to stop. I have to cleanse my home, energetically cleanse my home. And I speak over my home when I'm doing these cleaning. I dismiss this energy out of my home. I have to, because if I don't create that for myself, the reality that this type of density can fall upon an entire household, a family, an individual, if I don't see it for what it is, then I will simply be participating or enabling these energies by not keeping my space clean energetically, not keeping my home clean, both physically, cleaning things, kitchen, keeping the house organized, tidy as possible. So this is a daily effort. Whatever you're doing and indulging in that you know is not for your highest good. You know it causes issues if it's dishonesty. You have a deceitful tongue and you find some enjoyment out of misleading people, manipulating people, speech that you know isn't true, saying things that you know are not in line with your true intention. So you're speaking lies and you're aware of it, but a part of you may feed off of people's response or people believing you, and you feel a bit empowered by it. So that type of energy needs to be discerned and recognized and expelled. When it comes to these type of parasitic entities within the being, within the aura, you have to starve it so that it is not feeding off of the things you're indulging in. Self-hate, that inner conflict and torment of hating the self, wanting to inflict pain or harm upon yourself, acting on impulse, self-sabotage, deep, deep, deep inner conflict, confusion. All of these things can manifest and can make people do and behave a certain way, and they don't know why they did it. They don't know why they reacted a certain way. So if you feel you have some measure of mental illness, speak on it, get help, be honest with yourself. The first thing is to be honest. I'm not saying to just label your mental complexities and mental illness as just, oh, you know, inner demons. That's what Umi said. No, I want you to be sensible. If you need help, some people feel medication works for them. If you need to get on medication to calm your nerves, to help you with delusional thoughts, schizophrenia, other types of clinical diagnosis, then do what's necessary. But for others of you who are just aware of your energy body, you're aware of your environment, understand that this is a very real thing. You can call it what you want, but from the perspective of a spiritual nature, speaking of spirits, these entities that take on personality, then they can absolutely attach to people, attach to people's auric field, attach to your habits, your vices, your sickness. So if you're not aware of that, you're going to continue to feed that entity, and it's going to have an even greater impact on you and make it difficult for you to break ties with individuals, to break ties with behaviors and a way of thinking even. So however you understand and interpret this energy, these demonic influences, if you will, is something that you have to take action against. You have to armor yourself mentally, be on guard. Be on guard with your speech. Watch other people, the spirit behind what they're doing, saying, presenting to you, offering you, your entertainment, the food you're eating. If you're constantly wanting salty food, heavy, dense food, oily food, dead food, what are you feeding? What entity are you feeding within you? So by eating raw, by abstaining from negative, toxic entertainment and people, it's by spending time out in nature, getting out of your dark house and dark room. If you're always around darkness and you don't even notice it, that you find yourself gravitating to just dark environments, then you need to balance this. Because I know for me, sometimes in the fall, winter months, I enjoy spending time in this sort of cave-like environment. I like to be in a cozy environment. My room may be darker than usual, but come spring and summer, I love my blinds to be open. I want my house to be airy. I want my plants to be lively and the energy to be pleasant and to represent life. So too much time consistently in a dark environment is very negative and hard on the energy body. You need to be out in space and open space. You need to be outdoors. It's key during the times we're living in. So I hope that you all found this information useful. If you've had any personal experiences or encounters with these sort of demonic forces, you've noticed a few things within yourself that you felt need to be released or expelled, or perhaps you found yourself trying to just simply escape these energies, and you're putting in practice things that can help alleviate that torment, that stress, that inner conflict that's very real for many people. Please share your experiences and your insights. I'm sure many others can benefit from that. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and until next time, peace.